In Denver, one of the best paramedic units in the country spends every day and every night out in the streets waiting for the worst to happen. This story is not a recreation.
Emergency paramedics.
I'd like to report some man in the alley of my neighborhood off of East Cedar.
Cedar and what?
Cedar and Parkway. There's a man in the alley, and his neck is sliced or something, because he told me to call the paramedics and he's all full of blood.
What happened to him? Do you have any idea?
I have no idea. We were just coming through the alley, and he was standing in front of the car, and he was all bloody. And
how bad is his throat cut?
Really bad.
All right, we'll get some help right over there.
Okay.
At 10:21 p.m., paramedics are sent to pick up a stabbing victim.
200 block South Alley.
The scariest part is approaching the scene. You don't know where the assailant is, how determined he is that this victim is not going to survive.
On this night, they get to the crime scene and to the victim even before the police arrive.
We found a guy lying across the hood of a car, bleeding profusely. Judging from what we saw running down the car on the ground, he was short-timing it. He was down a few minutes.
Paramedics Ray James and Jody Peterson bring the man into their home base hospital, Denver General.
There's a weak radial, very weak radial pulse.
Radial pulse, they haven't had a pressure yet. The patient is intubated. He's agonal and tubed. Okay, thank you.
Myself and then the Denver policeman who rode along with us applied direct pressure to his wound. He was dying right in front of us.
I was just trying to assist the paramedics any way I could. He was pumping pretty good out of his neck. I was taking gauze sponges and actually holding it inside the hole in his neck and keeping pressure there.
Tube is not good. We don't have a good tube, so get ready to manage the airway. Ready, everybody? 1, 2, 3, move. Good.
He is pulling with his arms, so watch it.
Let's get some oxygen on him, please.
Male found in the alley. She was stabbed across the entry.
On call that night at the emergency room is Dr. Stephen Cantrill.
Got to control the bleeding from the neck, as well as manage his airway. How many lines do we have?
Downward force, easy.
How much atropine would you like him to have?
Any patient who has a traumatic injury to the neck, the airway becomes of primary importance. It's a real technical challenge, one that makes you a little nervous.
That anatomy is really swollen. There we go. Go ahead and interrupt that neck.
Swelling has blocked his airway. They will have to make a hole in his windpipe before he suffocates.
We need to roll this gentleman to make sure we don't have any other stab wounds to deal with.
Yeah, got it right here. Okay.
You can have any sort of story. We're unable to intubate him.
When the victim, Jeff Whipple, has been stabilized, Dr. Cantrill calls Jeff's family.
He was found by our paramedics without a blood pressure, and he's on his way to the operating room right now. The surgeons will have to go in and probably a large blood vessel that's been cut, and they will have to find that and stop the bleeding. Hi, how are you? I'm Dr. Cantrill. That's your brother? He was stabbed in the neck, and he was bleeding very badly. They're going to have to open his chest to gain control of that.
It does look fairly hopeful.
It looks fairly hopeful.
Go ahead and cut the ligaments. Dr. McIntyre has his finger in the bleeding vessel up here in the neck. So the first thing we're doing is open up his sternum. We get into his chest so we get the blood vessels out to take off of the aorta.
Dr. Ernest Moore, chief of surgery, is in charge of the critical operation.
So we got proximal control of the artery now, and it's an injury that is right at the base of the takeoff from the aorta. And it shows the reason we had to open the chest to get control is this injury is literally in the chest and not in the neck. Now we're going to restore blood flow to his brain by putting a synthetic graft between the ends of the carotid artery, the artery that goes to his brain. While we have the bleeding control, he could still wake up with a stroke. And I don't think most of the time we reflect much on the emotions in the operating room. And even after 13 years of this business, I probably won't sleep for the next couple of hours thinking about the operation.
Early the next morning, Jeff's father and stepmother visit him at the hospital.
The doctors can tell you he's stable, that he's doing better, but until you really see the person and touch them, you really don't believe that they're really going to make it. The happiest moment of all is when he opened his eyes and looked at us. because we'd been told that there was a possibility of a stroke. And when Jeff looked at us and reached out to us, we knew that he was going to be okay.
The doctor told us the paramedics had saved his life. And they said if it hadn't been for the paramedics and their fantastic work, they wouldn't even had anything to work on when he got here.
How are you? I'm Dr. Cantrell. You don't remember me. I took care of you downstairs when you came in. It's good to see you looking so well. You're welcome. He certainly made a miraculous recovery. For a while there, it could have gone either way. And I'm glad that he's upstairs recovering right now.
That afternoon, Jeff's mother arrives from Texas.
You hate to see your child laying there suffering, and you wish you could take some of the hurt, but you just can't. I mean, being here, I think, and knowing that his family's here, I think helps him probably about as much as anything. I know it helps me.
Are you hurting a lot, honey? Try to relax. Try just to relax.
He's a good time guy. He's always been a happy guy. It's real strange to see him in this situation where he can't talk, because he's a talker, so.
You feel dizzy, Jeff?
You stand up all right? Okay. There you go.
Go out dancing tomorrow, okay?
I was house sitting in a friend of mine's house, and as many other people had come up and asked if he's not there, well, no, he's not there, you know. And this person was kind of crazed and insistent on the fact that he was there. So they started to push their way by, and the guy pulled out a knife. He went nuts. He had the knife out and was trying to slice at me, and I grabbed a hold of his hand and held it off for a little while. So it looked like we were going to leave, and he just came back and just right in my neck. I sat down on the hood of the car and just became as calm as possible while I was holding my hand against my throat. Thank God for the paramedics, you know. It's a thankless job, but somebody's got to do it. If they weren't there, I wouldn't be around. I really appreciate that.
He looks a little different, doesn't he?
Sure does.
You guys were thinking I wasn't really going to make it.
Yeah, you were a sick man.
Yeah. I figured that was all over right then. You know?
I took one look at you and knew you had to work fast.
Yeah.
What I learned from this was no matter how bad someone looks, they've got a fighting chance. And if we do our job to the utmost, they're going to go home.
Jeff's family is grateful.
That night, I went down to the emergency room to see if I could find out anything that happened. And I got to see one of the paramedics, and like I told him, if it hadn't been for them, we wouldn't have Jeff. I mean, what they did, their response time and their knowledge was just unbelievable. I gave him a hug.